Welcome back to another episode of the Miami Heat Chronicles. My name is Amir. We got Martel. You can find Martel on the Miami Heat Zone podcast. And before we get started on today's episode, make sure to subscribe to my channel, Team to Beat Miami Heat. I'm on my path to 2,000 subscribers. Don't forget to subscribe to Martel's channel, the Miami Heat Zone podcast. He's on his path to 5,000 subscribers. So, how are you doing, Martel? It's been a while since we've hopped on a video together.
I know, but it's been a while, and I'm ready to talk some Miami Heat hoops.
Let's do it, brother. So, want to talk to you about Tyler Herro. So, Tyler Herro, we know this offseason has been working out. He's trying to build some strength. We know he's a gym rat. Like, his work ethic has never really come into question. It's always been his availability and like his efficiency and consistency and all that stuff. But we know he loves basketball. Dude tries hard. He's a gym rat. So kudos to Tyler for that, and I'm happy that he's been focused this off season, trying to get stronger to avoid those injuries. And so, speaking of injuries, biggest theme that we've talked about on all of our channels on roundtables is health. Health is wealth. The Miami Heat have not had that in the Jimmy Butler build, not once. Like, we've been a pretty unlucky team. Last season, fourth most injured team in the NBA, one of the deepest teams in the NBA, but we didn't get to showcase that because we were hurt. The depth kept us afloat. But Trent gets mad because I'm going to talk about if we're healthy. The big keyword is if. And Tyler agrees with us. So Tyler Herro was quoted recently saying, "We haven't been healthy yet, but we feel like when we do get healthy, we have a very deep team, a team that is deep enough to make a run in the East and ultimately win the NBA title." What are your thoughts on that and his quote? Do you think the Miami Heat can finally be healthy in the Jimmy Butler build?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, when are we really going to be healthy? And then also, too, how are we going to make 4 20-point per game scores work? I think that, to be honest, I think the only knock that I'll really ever give Eric Spoelstra is the offense. Our offense is atrocious. So I'm looking for Terry Rozier to not only work with Tyler Herro, which I know a lot of people don't want to see that, but it is what it is at this point. Tyler Herro, it's like what you said. His work ethic has never been in question, and more or less comes down to his efficiency and how does he look next to Jimmy, Bam, and Terry. Jimmy Butler, he's in his contract season. Who knows what he's really going to do? Jimmy Butler is very unpredictable. However, I still think he's going to have a good season because he cannot afford to have two bad seasons in a row and then expect to get paid. Bam Adebayo, he's coming off the Olympics. We already know what that means, and he's the best defender in the NBA. So in terms of the health and everything like that, the cards will fall where they fall. One thing I'll say is we got to try to give Bam some relief minutes throughout this regular season compared to the years prior. If that means that Khalil Ware gets more time, or Kevin Love, or Thomas Bryant, whoever it is, I just don't need Bam playing high minutes so that when he gets to the playoffs, he's not drained and exhausted. Tyler Herro, he cannot miss 40 games. That's absolutely he can't. Missing 40 games does not help this team whatsoever. And like I said, Terry and Jimmy, they just have to be available. Like, it is what it is. I don't need Jimmy to play 82, but when he does play, I need him to turn it on.
We need Terry to be healthy too, as well, like you mentioned, because he was our acquisition last season at the trade deadline. We had no money for a free agent this offseason because we're a first apron team and we have 14 players on the roster. One spot still available, can't fulfill it because even if we give someone a minimum contract, which is like 1 point something million dollars or whatever, that's going to put us over the second apron, and we know the penalties, so it's not possible. So this is the acquisition. This is the replacement of Kyle Lowry, and this is another front office move that we have not got to see what the potential is, and it could be another bad offseason move or a midseason move, or it could be a good one. And it could be bad because if Terry doesn't elevate this Miami Heat team, or if he's injured himself and not available, we attached a first round pick to get Terry onto this team. So that could be another mistake from the front office, but he's looking like he's healthy. Tyler, I'm surprised that he said he's excited to play with Terry, even though they only played 10 games or so together, and it didn't look great because of the redundancy, right? They're both similar type players that need the ball in their hand. They're both 3-level scorers, even though I think Terry's a better 3-level scorer. But I think Terry could be a big X factor. Jimmy's going to be a big X factor, obviously, too, in a contract year, like you mentioned as well. But what do you think, though, if they're healthy? Because we talked about the depth last year, they were deep. Like we did have a deep team, but you're not deep when Jimmy's missing 20 games, Tyler's missing 40, Caleb's missing 20, Haywood's missing 10, Love's missing 20, Thomas Bryant's getting DMPs. Like obviously every player on our team, basically outside of Jaime and Duncan until the end of the season, those were our
And
two
Bam.
guys. And Bam too, but Bam only missed 10 games. But like Bam, Duncan, and Jaime were the only three guys, who actually played 65 and above games or whatever it was. So if and we weren't able to utilize that depth, the depth is what kept us in as a eighth seed. If we lost another player, if Jimmy or Bam missed more time, we would have been a ninth seed. We would have been a 10th seed, still in the play-in, but we would have been in the 10th seed. So anyway, my question to you before we hop off, Martel, is if we're healthy and we actually get to showcase the depth, especially with adding new players like Burks, like getting Josh Richardson back, like adding Kalel Ware and the undrafted guys, Keyshawn Johnson, Isaiah Stevens, hopefully makes a roster spot. How far do you think this team, or what seed do you think they get if generally healthy? Like how high is their ceiling next season with the health?
So there's a lot of people that are going to say, well, the Miami Heat are going to be trash. Now, I say that because it's like what Tyler says. He feels like they can still compete and they have the depth. He's right. I think that, Jaime Jaquez Jr., don't play with that man. I know a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't hype him up. I'm just saying he had a phenomenal rookie season. I don't see how he's worse, this coming season. I just think he's even going to be better. He worked on his body, his 3-point shooting, and his defense. So I'm really excited to see what Jaime can really bring, and just the overall four that I mentioned, Bam, Tyler, Terry, and Jimmy. It really starts with them. So in terms of competing in the Eastern Conference for a championship, it all really comes down to matchups. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, look at the 76ers. They got Paul George, Maxi's there and Joel Embiid. And then we'll look at the Milwaukee Bucks with Dame and Giannis and look at the Boston Celtics. But remember, every single playoff run is different. And I feel like this playoff run proved it. Nobody was healthy outside the Boston Celtics. One or two things can happen and it can completely change your route to the NBA Finals. Who knows? Maybe some teams just don't click the same. Maybe teams that were really good aren't really that good. Like I don't believe in the Milwaukee Bucks. I just don't. Dame is another year older, and I just think that them not having Drew Holiday was a glaring hole in their defense and a glaring overall mistake on that franchise. Same thing with the Philadelphia 76ers. They've never been healthy. Joel Embiid always falls out. Paul George, Pandemic P, where has he been with the Clippers? So I really do think the Miami Heat are not going to obviously be a top 3 seed or anything like that, but I think that they can definitely be a top 5 seed. I don't believe in the Cleveland Cavaliers. I
Fact.
think that the Orlando Magic, they're good. Don't sleep on them whatsoever. But I don't see them being better than the Miami Heat. The same thing like with the Indiana
In the
Pacers.
playoffs, and same with Indiana, what you're going to say, right? In the regular season, they might be better than us,
They're
but
good
not in the
regular
playoffs.
season teams.
Yeah,
Yes, they
exactly.
are. Ooh, which that also brings up like another one of my points before we close. The Miami Heat need to take the regular season seriously. The way that this regular season starts off for us is perfect. We're playing the Wizards, the Pistons, and all these other teams that we need to beat. The Sacramento Kings, even though they did get DeMar DeRozan, but we're playing a lot of easier teams in the beginning, like the Hornets. We have to take advantage of this regular season schedule to start off. There's no way. I think the only really good team that we play the first 10 games is the New York Knicks. Other than that, we need to start off the regular season phenomenally, because if we don't, we could be back in the play-in.
And if that's the case, if that's the
It's
writing
time
on
to
the
trade
wall,
Jimmy.
that Jimmy might not be there past February. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for hopping on, Martel. Good to see you. It's been a while. So again, don't forget to subscribe to Martel's channel, Miami Heat Zone Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Team to Beat Miami Heat. We'll be back with another episode with you guys hopefully soon. And we're getting close to training camp. We're about a month or so away from training camp. So hopefully there'll be some more exciting news that we can report on throughout this offseason. So thanks again for watching and hope you guys have a good one.